These are the tabs I'll cover. If you'd like to skip ahead, check out the timestamps in the description below. This is the Categories tab, and this is where you personalize the sheet. There's space for 35 different expense categories, 30 different sources of income, 10 different debt types, and 10 different savings accounts, and 20 different investment and credit card accounts. Here in column J, you can also assign each investment account a tax type, so how the money goes in and how the money comes out and their tax implications. And these options come from column P, so you can add more if you see one that's missing, but you can select from the ones that are already in there. And then as you add in your investment accounts, you can pick whichever category is appropriate. Now let's move on to the Transactions Daily tab. This is the Transactions Daily tab. This is where you'll add your daily transactions, so any money coming in or going out goes right here. So we're going to start with the date of the transaction, the name, so what is it? Groceries, gas, utility payment, rent, mortgage, add the amount, and then type, so the transaction type. Right now we have expense, income, debt payment, savings account, or investment account. And then you have your subcategory, and your subcategories all populate from the Categories tab based on what's in this column. So, for instance, for expense, you're going to see all of your expense categories. For income, you'll see your income categories. The investment tax status will populate on its own based on what you've already filled in the Categories tab. This column right here, paid with credit card. Now, some people don't use credit cards at all. And if that's you, then you don't need to worry about this column. If you do use credit cards, this column will help you simplify where your money is going and how much is going out. Let's look at an example with some nice round numbers. Let's say you make income of $1,000 a month. You are paid. You buy a $1,000 plane ticket on your credit card. The next day, you use your $1,000 to pay off that credit card. Now, it might look like you have $2,000 going out the door when you actually only spent $1,000. So this column right here clarifies that for the spreadsheet. So let's look at September and October. I put in those attributes, and only for one of the plane tickets did I add in that yes, it was paid for by a credit card. So if we go over to the annual dashboard, get a little closer. You can see in September, we had $1,000 of income and $1,000 outgoing because it didn't double count that payment to your credit card and the payment for the plane ticket. In October, where I didn't note that, it says we have $1,000 of income and we had $2,000 outgoing. So it just cleans it up so it's not double counting anything. And then column H is need or want. If you don't fill this in, it will assume it's a need. I find this column really helpful just to kind of rewire my thinking about where my money is going, and so I'm more intentional about it. And then column I is the notes column, so any other information you'd like to add, you can add right in there. This is the annual dashboard. This is your financial overview tab, and probably the tab you'll look at the most. In the top two rows, you'll see your total income, average monthly income, total expenses, average monthly expenses, and total debt payments for the year selected right over here. You can also add an income goal, and this graph right here will show you how far you've met your income goal for the year. Right under that, you'll see your annual income. This graph breaks out all your income sources and how much you've made from each source for the year selected. Right down here, you'll see your expenses paid with credit card versus credit card payments. This is a great graph to refer to if you are trying to pay off your credit cards. Going over to the right, your income versus outgoing funds. So this is all of the income sources in the bars, and the outgoing funds are the green line. And your outgoing funds are all of your expenses, credit card payments, investments, and savings. On the very right, you'll see your annual expenses broken out by category. In your income utilization, you'll see how you're spending your money. So how much is going towards investments, savings, and expenses. Here's your annual debt payments graph, and it will tell you how much you've paid towards each category for that year. Wants and needs. So you can see right here that no wants have been entered. The spreadsheet will assume everything entered in the Transactions Daily tab is a need unless you specify that it is a want. This is a great graph to refer to if you're also trying to clean up your spending habits. This graph right here shows your monthly debt payments. So how much money you put towards debt, any debts, so all these debts every month. With the mock data that's in this spreadsheet, you can see there's been $600 worth of payments in June and $200 in August. Here are your monthly savings and investment contributions. For this mock data, we've only put in $500 of investments this year, so we need to work on that. This graph shows you your expenses paid with credit card versus credit card payments. This is a great graph if you're also trying to curb your credit card usage or if you're trying to pay off your credit cards. A lot of people use credit cards all the time because sometimes there's a safer option. So right here, you'll see 4 3-year comparison charts. One for income, one for expenses, one for savings, and one for investment contributions. Now keep in mind that these graphs will pull the information from the Transactions Daily tab. So if you don't have information in there for the prior 2 years, it's not going to be able to pull anything in. But if you do have prior year information that you want to add into the spreadsheet, you could even just do a bulk line like January 1st, 2020, $6,000 invested, because then it would at least pull in the $6,000 in this instance. And there are trend lines for each to show you what direction you're moving. This graph right here shows you the taxability of your annual contribution totals. So in the mock data for this one, there's a $500 investment to a Roth IRA. So right here, you'll see post-tax and tax-free. So we know that for this year, we've invested $500 that will be tax-free eventually, which is great. The more money you can get into tax-free and tax-favored accounts, the better. Right here is your debt payoff monthly payment. If you're using the credit card payoff tab, this will show you what your monthly payment is and what the calculated extra payment is. And to the right of that is your debt payoff balance, something that always brings me joy. And this will show you your principal amounts and how they decrease over time. This is your budget spreadsheet. This is a self-populating spreadsheet. It will pull in whichever year and month you have selected right here in rows 6 and 7. So we're going to start with a super simple example. Let's go back to the Transactions Daily tab. So for August 22, I have a paycheck of $500, rent of $300, credit card payment of $200, and groceries of $200. And notice the groceries were put on a credit card. So this payment right here will cancel this out. So let's go back to the budget dashboard. So everything in white is changeable. So I added in my numbers of what I expected. I expected $500 of income. I expected $300 in rent, $200 in groceries, and a $200 credit card payment. So you'll notice each of these sections pulls from the categories tab. And this information right here in actual will pull from the Transactions Daily tab based on what you have chosen right here. So you can add whatever amounts you want right in here. So at the bottom, net income, since it's all being taken up by our payments. And of course, we're using simple round numbers. So one of the things that I like about this tab the most is right up here. So the amounts that have cleared the bank, these are all the amounts that are coming from the actual, because these are being pulled from the Transactions Daily tab. So these are actual payments that have already been made and cleared the bank. Amounts still due. In this example, no amounts are still due. Everything has been paid. So right here in this white box, we can enter our current bank balance. Let's say I have $500 in my bank account, and it will tell me that I have $500 I can spend however I want, since all of my bills have been paid. Now, let's say I only made a $100 credit card payment. So let's come back over here. So according to the spreadsheet, only $100 has been paid. But from what I put in, the spreadsheet is calculating that $200 needs to be assigned for a credit card. So I'm under $100. So if you look up here, now only $600 has cleared the bank. The amounts that are still due are $100. Because based on what I'm expecting to make a payment of $200, and I have not done that yet. So when I enter my current bank balance of $500, the spreadsheet will tell me that I only have $400 available for whatever I want to do, because it's still holding $100 for the rest of this budgeted amount. And this is a super simple way to figure out how much money you have to play with every month. You can just come in here after you've added your transactions daily information, pop in your current bank balance, and it will automatically tell you how much you have. So right here, you'll see a little graph showing your available funds. So it'll show the 400. Right here, you'll see your budgeted spending versus actual spending. So budgeted was 700 and actual was 600. Because once we go back over here and change this credit card payment back to 200, you'll see they're equal now. And then right here, you'll see income, budget, and actual. So you can make sure you've been paid everything for the month. If you have multiple sources of income, that's super helpful. And then here is a graph showing your expenses, budget versus actual. So you can track and see how close you've stuck to your amounts. So all of these sections over here, debt payment, savings account, investment account, they have more spots, and it will auto-populate from what you put in the categories tab. I've hidden some of those rows simply so I don't see all the zeros, but you can unhide them as well. And of course, if I were to go back to the categories tab, add a new savings account under bank savings account, I would want to come back over here and unhide so that that new savings account can show if you do end up hiding the blank rows. And then down here, this section is if you want to separate out each credit card payment. So some people just do, I'm going to make $500 in credit card payments. And especially if you look at the credit card payoff, if you just base yourself on that amount, you can come up here and put a balloon amount right here. Now, if you want to keep track of which ones you're paying, so let's say your City Double Cash, you want to put 100, City Diamond 200, and then your Costco card, you want to put 200. Actually, let's stick with the example I added. So let's say that $200 payment is going to your Costco card. Well, right here, you'll see the total of this section, and it will also pull down your credit card payments so you can see that you're right on track. This is the monthly income dashboard. Up here, you'll see your total income for the month, $5,200, and your average monthly income for the year. Over here, you'll be able to select the year you want to look at, the month, and the income category. For this one, I've selected 2021, January, and main job-A. You'll see that in January, main job-A was 96% of the income, and everything else was 4%. The category selection by month, it'll tell you how much you made per month in this category. So for January and February, this person made $5,000 from the main job. Over in this graph, you'll see how much income you made per category in that month. So this person made, or we made $5,000 from our main job. and we made $200 from our side job. Awesome. If we come down, here are the number of income types by day of the month. So we got paid once here, and we got paid again here. And then income by day of the month, we got $5,000 from the main job. And you can see that this is where our side hustle income came in. This is the monthly expense dashboard. This is the dashboard you want to use if you want to get up close and personal with the expenses for a specific year, month, and expense category, or just a year and a month. So in this first row up above, you can see the total expenses for the month selected and the average monthly expenses for the year selected. Right here, you can select which year, month, and category you want a closer look at. In this graph, you can see that 35% of our total monthly expenses were for groceries, and the remainder was everything else. In this graph right here, the category selection by month. So here you're going to see every month how much we spent on groceries for the year selected. So in January and February, we spent $625, which makes sense because this is mock data. Right here in this graph, you'll see the expense detail for the selected month. So for January 2021, you'll see how much money you spent in each of these categories. So it's a nice breakdown. If you feel like you overspent in one month, you can see where that money went. This graph right here tells you the number of expenses per day. So 3 expenses on the first, there were 0 on these days, 2, 1, etc. And then total expenses by day of the month amount-wise. So on the first of the month, we spent $660. These graphs will show you more about just how things change for specific months. You'll see purchases ramp up prior to birthdays. It shows you more about your personal behavior with spending. And again, just make sure that you have this correct year and month selected. There is no information in the transactions tab for 2022. So of course, if we change it to 2022 here, everything disappears. So if you switch over here and you see nothing, look up here first. This is the debt payoff spreadsheet. This is a great tool if you want to get all of your debt in one spot and figure out how to pay it off as quickly as possible. So step 1, fill in today's date. Step 2, fill in your debt information. So the creditor, the balance on the card or the loan, the APR, and your minimum payment. Next step, fill in your monthly payment. So what payment can you comfortably make but still be making an additional payment on top of your minimum payments? Pick a payoff strategy. This is where you pick whichever method you like the best. You can do a snowball, so the lowest balance first. You can do avalanche, highest interest first. You can do the table order, so how it's entered in the table, or you can do a unique order. Let's say I want to pay Chase off first for whatever reason. So we could do one right here, and then I want to do Visa, and then MasterCard. So let's do unique order, lowest first, because we want Chase to be gone first. Right down here, it'll show the total interest paid and our debt-free date based on this monthly payment. So right here, you can add in any additional payments that you want to make. So say I know I'm going to get some money in December of 2022, and I know I'm going to get about $6,000 for Christmas because I have a rich uncle and he gives his money away. So we add the $6,000. We see our total interest paid definitely took a dip, and our debt-free date moved way up. So these graphs to the right will show you your debt payoff balance and you can see that dip right here from the $6,000. And here's your monthly interest accrual. And here you can see another dip, and they both descend at basically the same rate, but it just gives you a nice idea of the fact that you're paying less interest over time as your debt balance decreases. And this debt payoff balance graph and your information for your monthly payment will auto-populate into graphs on the lower portion of the annual dashboard. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe for more personal finance content.